Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to What is the Origin of Hinduism? Hindu Academy J. Lakhani. So, change it up for a little bit. Instead of too much into spiritual things, obviously take a little bit of a break. And let's find out the origin of Hinduism according to Hindu Academy and J. Lakhani. Let's go ahead and get started. I am not sure, honestly, but there was a question that someone asked and I really wanted to answer it and I kind of remember it, but let's go ahead and get started. It's why I got into this, kind of. There's no CC, by the way.
Sri J. Lakhani, an excellent communicator of Hinduism in Britain and director of the Hindu Academy, the Vivekananda Centre in London. Over the last 15 years, Sri Lakhani has given talks on Hinduism to thousands of youngsters at English schools, colleges and universities. If you wish to get a glimpse of the modern, dynamic face of Hinduism, then do not miss this series of talks.
You see, this is a very important issue. Because of our openness, we pay a price. આપણે છૂટ આપીએ ને તો પછી ધર્માંતર કરવાની પણ છૂટ આપી દીધી આપણે. એટલે then our community is open to attack.
I'm sorry. He is absolutely right, and that's the saddest thing is the fact that you being so friendly, so nice, so open, and so accepting that you end up getting destroyed because you don't push, you don't force your viewers or your people, the people just in general, not your people but the people, into your point of view. You say you're very open and friendly and you don't threaten them. That and then the opposing forcing it and threatening, you know, it's kind of really does suck. And that's the reason why I guess the question was, I kind of remember a little bit, it's why I got into this, is because this is one of the only, I wouldn't say only, one of the ways of life, as I like to call it, that is not saying you have to do this. This is it right here. These are the rules. Oops. These are the rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the 5 rules you have to follow. They're very strict. Can't deviate from them. Whereas Hinduism so far has been like, seek the truth. Learn the truth. You know, there are many paths to the truth. And I was like, that was really like, I like that a lot, because not everyone thinks the same, whereas like a lot of other ways of life, it's like, nope, this is the only truth, this is the only path, this is the only belief, this is the only higher up. This is the CEO only.
Then our community is open to attack because we are given this openness. કે બધા ધર્મ ખરેખર એક જ ઈશ્વર તરફ, અથવા we are talking of different pathways to same ultimate reality. People are saying, in that case, why don't you change? And just as this Kaka just asked, isn't it silly કે છે ને, જે વિશાળ તમારો ધર્મ છે, જે તમને ઘણી જુદી રીતે ઈશ્વરનો વિચાર કરવાની છૂટ આપે છે, એ ધર્મ તમે મૂકી અને જે ધર્મમાં તમને કે તમારે આમ જ વિચાર કરવાનો ને તો તમે બધા જવાના છો ઓલા હેલમાં, એનો તમે અંગીકાર કરો. Isn't it very sad that we come to a situation because of our openness, we lose our congregation to perhaps more rigid, more prescriptive religions. This is unfortunately the price we pay. The only idea of caste in the Bhagavad Gita or the Purush Sukta of the Rig Veda is simply to say division of labor based on your age and ability. Age and ability. This is called the Varnashrama Dharma. Okay, depending on what is your acumen, suppose you are intellectual, suppose you are highly physical, depending on your acumen, your own initial kind of, your innate nature, take into account that, take into account your age, because you may be just a 5-year-old, and then use your skills for the betterment of greater society. So you all specialize, we all have special skills, we must develop those skills to the full for the benefit of the greater society. Now every modern society, the United Kingdom, operates on the same principle. That's why you got streaming. At the age of 11, at GCSE, at A-level, they start streaming, saying you are good for science and maths, you're good for art and music. So they start streaming. And they start making sure that the skills you are developing can be used for the greater society, for the benefit of the greater society. This is the idea of division of labor based on age and ability. This is the pure idea in the Purushukta, the Rig Veda, and also the Bhagavad Gita. You see, this is where you go for the, if you like, the source of Hinduism. So where did this hereditary hierarchical caste system come?
Oh, he said that so many times in another video that he reacted to, and I love it. It's such a mouthful though, but it's absolutely true. It's how a lot of Westerners sees the caste system, and that's the way I saw it too prior to, well, I guess these videos and the comments also. And it makes, and whenever I think about it, and as I read the comments, it makes so much sense that the caste system is merely, well, they took it from a scripture for one, as in, the laborers are the feet, and that the priests are the words. So therefore, I guess if you misinterpret it, you can say that, the untouchables, or the people who work in dirt and poop and whatever else in the fields and whatnot are down there. That's the reason why they're the feet. But even though the feet's what moves society, and then the preachers are the ones that have command, because they speak the word of God or whatever it may be. But it makes sense that in terms of the caste system, that if you're born into a fisherman's house, you'll become a fisherman, because learning skills, well, there's no one really to teach you how except for people in your family. And if your family is a fishing family, or your city is a city, then you typically become a fisherman or a fisher person. And you'll do that for your life, because there's people there who can teach you. As a matter of fact, you'll probably be like, you'll work with your father or mother or whatever it may be, and you help them, and you'll learn as you help them. So you develop your skills over time. So you end up basically learning the trades of the skills of your own house. And because if you want to learn to do something else, generally you can be apprentice in that, but more than likely, and sometimes you may have to even pay to learn those skills. So it's just much cheaper to keep it in the house, and you keep your family business going.
You come across a book called Manusmriti. I promise, I doubt if any one of you has got that in your home. This Manusmriti was very popular in the medieval period, and it stratified society in a very rigid way, and saying that your position in society depends on your birth. ક્યાં જન્મ થયો તમારો. એટલે either you're a Brahmin, તો બ્રાહ્મણનો છોકરો બ્રાહ્મણ હોય. Hereditary થઈ ગયું. The same book also said it is hierarchical. બ્રાહ્મણ અહીં આવે ને તો મારે ઉઠીને પગ પકડી લેવાના. અને I must give him superior status. અને જે નીચેના હોય ને, શુદ્ર ને જે who are out of society, almost like animal level, એ તો જો ભૂલથી પણ વેદના શ્લોકો સાંભળી જાય ને તો એના કાનમાં તમારે ઓલું મોલ્ટન મેટલ નાખવાનું. અરે મારા બાપા ક્યાંથી કાઢ્યું બધું. We are talking about Atman, divinifying humanity. That's the heart of Hindu teaching. And suddenly આ બધું ક્યાંથી નીકળી પડ્યું? Where did this come from? Hereditary, hierarchical means ઉપર નીચે. This is not Hinduism. It is an atrocity that paraded as Hinduism. It is not Hinduism. And we may think, okay, in modern India, if you discriminate on caste basis, it's called a criminal offense and blah, blah, all that. But in reality, it's still there. And I shudder. Do you know, just as he said, I can't go to India because when I see this in front of my eyes, I have great difficulty. What have we done to our own people? We turned them into animals. જે નીચેને હોય ને કોમ, એને તો સાવ જનાવરની માફક ટ્રીટ કરીએ. જનાવરની માફક. No human dignity given to them. They live like animals. I've seen them ગટરની બાજુમાં બેઠા બેઠા ખાતા હોય. You see what is going on? What have we done to our own people in the name of religion? What have we done? What have we done? Look, I'm hoping that this kind of recording that we are doing here, which are shown in the Western world, will be shown in India in days to come. Because somebody like me has to point a finger and say, you lost your religion, haven't you? Atrocities committed in the name of religion, paraded religion, and the pure pristine ideas of divinifying humanity, lifting them up, raising them to the level of God, all lost. That is your Vedas, that is your Upanishads. એ બધું ખોઈ નાખ્યું, ના પકડી રાખ્યું છે. That's why none of you have Manusmriti in your home, because this is outdated. We knew it, I know, sell by date is gone. It served a purpose in society during a certain period. But this was social stratification parading as a religious injunction. Social stratification. So this idea of Dalit is not gone away. It makes me, I tell you, forget about your son. I shudder when I see these things. I feel very threatened. There are many temples in modern India today, even with all this criminalizing caste system or discrimination in the name of caste. Still there are temples, traditional temples, who will not allow the lower caste to enter the temple. Now Bharat Bhai was telling me, Dilip Bhai, then if these people become Christians or Muslim, would you stop them? I said, no, they are getting dignity, let them. If you can't give them dignity, let them find it elsewhere. Look, you are asking for trouble. Sometimes we blame other people, saying, oh, they are converting us and they are, all this, they are their problem. To some extent, we are responsible for this.
I was going to say that. So I know there's probably going to be some people thinking in the comments, like, blame the Western people or Britain or whatever. There's got to be a point where people have to start taking responsibility. British is no longer in control of India. They pulled out some time ago, but there is, of course, lingerance of their effect in that country. But it is now officially your country, and you must take control over it. I'm not saying freaking rebel or fight or anything, but it's very difficult, honestly, and you know, you have. I think this is something that Sadhguru and something that I believe in. Start taking responsibility for your actions. Every individual person. So if you treat people like garbage, you must take responsibility for your actions, understanding that this is not some oppressive thing external coming into you saying that you have to do this anymore. This is you. This is your body. You are doing what you are doing. So if I am treating someone badly, it's not because, you know, Americans is doing it to me. Like all this bad behavior that's coming from the Western world influencing my mind, and I'm acting this way. I don't blame Western society. I blame myself, because I'm letting it affect me, and I am letting it affect me. I guess that's the best way to put it. And I'm doing it. I mean, obviously there's going to be some people who don't understand that they're doing this thing because it's part of the norm, and I think that's the biggest problem, is that they don't see anything wrong with it because of the influence of the culture in cities or towns or whatever it may be. But I think the blame needs to stop at a certain point, and we have to look at people taking responsibilities for their actions and make them realize what they're doing is wrong, which is going to be the hardest part. It's something that I see in Western society in some sense, not the sense that they're, you know, treating, well, I guess mistreating people too. But in Western society, the thing I see in fault is people who are becoming poor or just blaming a lot of things externally, saying, oh, I'm not successful because these people or that people or because of that person. And in reality, they're making bad choices. And they're saying, oh, I can't do anything about this because that person is preventing me from doing it. And in reality, they are stopping themselves, or they're poor because they make bad financial purchase decisions. And like, I see a lot of people who spend lots of money on stuff, and they claim to be poor, and they can't, you know, become successful in life because, again, it's their choices that they make are terrible. But yet they blame their what do you call it, how come I can't say it, their position in life on external things, when ultimately they have the tools they need to become successful. They just don't realize that they can make those choices because they have no self-control, no how do I say? Well, self-control is the biggest thing. My gosh, I am terrible at talking today about my points. But yes, at some point you have to stop blaming external things and start blaming yourself, not the culture, yourself. And obviously there are external things that will take effect that you can't control. Again, like Sadhguru says, you have 100% control over yourself, but not external things. But if everyone can do this, take control of themselves and what they do, I think that could be a big solution to the problem.
Because the lower rungs of society, we have treated them so poorly, they would rather give up Hinduism and say, we'd rather be atheist, agnostic, communist and knock you out.
Sorry. So basically, he's saying that because they're mistreated so badly in Hinduism, because of these people that say, oh, you're the lower caste, you're the untouchables, they are going to Christians or becoming Christians or Muslims or whatever, because in that society it's like, oh no, you're equal to us, we'll treat you the same so long as you convert to us. And is that what's going on? That's what it sounds like. You're obviously, if you're being mistreated in one, whatever that may be, you will seek the other to be accepted. People seek acceptance, so if they're being denied or mistreated in one, they'll go to another.
That's what you find in modern India. That's why this Marxist movement coming in, saying we'd rather demolish all the temples. You are a nuisance. Because
sorry, that's happening. I mean, that's something that's kind of being done in colleges in the United States too, about this socialist type things where things should be free and whatnot, and just
that's why this Marxist movement coming in, saying we'd rather demolish all the temples. You are a nuisance because you've done nothing for us. You don't even allow us to enter your temple. Look, this is still there. Even though we wave our arms, it has not been cleared. And the thing that really hurts me most, you see, India claims to be a major superpower. Okay, making economic progress and saying we are, kind of very high, 10% GDP. Oh, sounds very good. It is achieved on the back of these poor people. 30 or 40% of the population, we live off them on their sweat and blood, because cheap labor, cheap intellectual labor, and we live off them, suck their life out, and we say we are superpower. What superpower? I would rather prefer an egalitarian society where you dignify all different layers of society and look after all of them. That is true religion. Do you know where that is visible? These guys have done it without the tops and tails of religion. They have dignified humanity. That's why you got this natural system of social services and these ideas of making sure nobody falls below the safety net. Food, clothing, nobody can go without. Human dignity must be maintained.
Sorry, and this is something that I remember reacting to some time ago, about reacting to certain Indian stuff, about India becoming a superpower. I think in that video I didn't really care that the United States is a superpower or anything like that, because that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. You could be treating your people like crap, and you're a freaking #1 superpower in the world. That's irrelevant. I'd rather be, of course, not last in superpower, but sacrifice some superpower to have a better life in whatever country I may happen to be living in. But obviously you want whoever's the superpower to be a good nation. I don't know if there's any nation out there that could be like that. There's potential. America has good and bad, obviously, and I think that's just going to happen to any superpower nation out there. And I guess in terms of what he's talking about, I don't know that. He lives in England. In the United States there are some safety net, and what I more believe in is the people to do it than the government, because the government, while I understand that it's the only way, the government has a structure that can enforce it to a degree, but it's still not exactly very efficient. But it's something that I guess that we have, because having individual people can't really collectively do it, because it's a bit difficult, because the country's so massive. And having small countries like freaking Britain or United Kingdom, it's so tiny that it's so easy to govern the country, because it's so small and there's not a lot. It's not a very gigantic country.
Not in the name of religion, in the name of humanity. So what we've been preaching, these guys are practicing. And the reason why I'm so comfortable in talking to Western university, because I feel I'm talking to the converted, the real Hindus here. The practicing Hindus are there. And when I present the idea of dignifying humanity, they smile, they light up. I've caught their hearts, stolen their hearts. So we have a look. The sign of a living thing is that it continues to learn. It never stops. The moment you stop learning, know that you are dead. We continue to learn, and we must be open to learning from others. What we've been preaching, they are practicing without the tops and the tails. So we take our hat off and say, you've done it. We have not learned it in India. We continue to have this huge gap between the have and the have-nots. કાં બહુ પૈસા હોય ફૂકી મારતા હોય, આમ વેસ્ટફુલ, અને કાંઈ ન હોય, કાલે ત્યાંથી ખાવાનું હોય, દયા આવે, અડધા આ છોકરાઓ બિચારા ભૂખા સૂઈ જાય, અને વી સે વી આર ડુઈંગ વેરી વેલ, કુર્તો પહેરીને ડાન્સ કરો બોલિવૂડ. We are fine. We are not fine. We are trying to come to terms with the origin of religion. Look, you must look at the historic dimension of religion, the philosophic dimension, the social, like the caste system, the social aspect. You must look at different dimensions of how religion enters society. So what is the historicity? And he's talking like a sober, rational Hindu trying to come to terms. He doesn't want to hear all these outlandish things that, oh, we are million-year-old. How million-year-old? No human beings here. So always keep your feet firmly implanted on the floor, on the ground. Be very rational, be very systematic. So if somebody says, we started million years ago, I say, look, my bhai, mane rewa de. This is not my cup of tea. I rather agree with the anthropologist and the archaeologists who tell us about the human history, and if it doesn't fit with that, then I will reject all these things as exaggerations. So be always ready. What is the origin? Roughly, historically, if you look at the archaeological evidence, you must look at it. You must be firmly kind of fixed on common sense. The archaeological evidence, the digs that we have, the Saraswati civilization as well as the Indus Valley civilization, shows that the rudimentary ideas about meditation and this idea of worshipping nature were visible in India about 3000 BC. 3000, we are talking 5000 years ago. Now, how far can you go back further than, I don't know, but I wouldn't speculate say 100,000. I would say maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe stretch it. So the first settlements we see in this civilization, and they were very rudimentary, very basic, about 6,000, 7,000 year old, 5,000 year old, where you see these images coming now of meditation, worshipping, and all that is beginning to be visible. So rudimentary Hinduism was present there, but we can say it's rudimentary. Why? Because the developed ideas, say like Patanjali Yoga Sutra, all these ideas of yoga and Sankhya Darshan could not have been present there. There was no vocabulary for it even. So be very firm, very clear. I would suspect, look, this is my speculation. See the language, speculation. There is no exact evidence. I haven't found any exact archaeological evidence that Hinduism was already available in, say, in the period about 5,000 years ago. These ideas were already being explored, trying to make sense of the human condition and trying to appease the forces of nature that you find the Mayan civilization, in the other civilizations where they thought that if we can somehow control nature, especially rain and sun and all this and fire, then we can do well. Otherwise the crops fail. So this idea of worshipping nature by personifying nature, the forces of nature were personified. There's Vayu, wind god and sun god, and so this is how we start. We had the same background. We had a very similar background. See, all human nature trying to suss out what is going on. We must worship the sun or the rain. Otherwise, we don't get rainfall. We die. So we do some certain sacrifices and certain havans to appease, to kind of build up relationship with this higher the natural forces. This is how we started. So
yeah, that's what most religions are kind of. It's like, oh, lightning. There must be a lightning god. A sun. There's a sun god. There's a moon god. Animal god. Scratching god.
about, I would say, 5,000-6,000 years. Now, the only historic kind of solid evidence we get about the background of Hinduism is Buddha, thankfully. Because Buddha was such a dynamic personality, a historic personality. You can't challenge. Jesus you can challenge, whether Jesus was a historic figure. There is very limited evidence. Buddha is not, is solid evidence throughout India, throughout whole of Southeast Asia. Lord, the stupas and everything with proper stone carvings everywhere about his birth, his death, his life, everything recorded, many places. So Buddha is a historic figure. Now Buddha lived about 2,600 years ago, and Buddha had already developed the ideas of meditation. That's the whole foundation of Buddhism, of this inward search. So in Buddhism he had already incorporated central ideas because he was a Hindu prince. So he incorporated this idea. That means we are certain that all these ideas had already been fully developed by the time of Buddha. So I'm giving you a kind of rough idea. So I would say 2,500 to 5,000 years, some of these ideas were already crystallized in Hinduism. And it is only, I would say, this is again an interesting thing, the Vedas, the scripture of authorities, were not written down for thousands of years. So we don't know exactly historically how far back we can go. But I would say 5,000, 6,000, don't stretch it. It's really stretching your credibility. It's roughly that old. But initially for the first few thousand, they were passed on by word of mouth. That's why they're called Shruti, heard, Shrutva. Through word of mouth they were passed on for about first couple of thousand years. Then they started being written up. But this is the background to the historic background to Hinduism. So if somebody gives you exaggerated account, please don't listen. You sound stupid. Somebody said, Dilip bhai, this thing happened million years ago. I said, look, my boy, we all came out of Africa about 100,000 years ago as Homo sapiens stood up and started walking out. And even the Indian civilization came after. It goes back 20,000 years through archaeological evidence, but don't stretch it any further, because you kind of goes against common sense. Never lose sight of common sense and rationality. Keep it fully switched on and don't accept in the name of religion swallow things. Upanishadic teaching માં છે ને અમુક મહાવાક્યો કહેવાય, 4 મહાવાક્ય છે. One of the મહાવાક્ય is aham brahmasmi, my essential nature is the spirit, I am God. Or the other thing is છાંદોગ્ય ઉપનિષદ તત્વમસી, thou art that, તારું સાચું સ્વરૂપ ઈશ્વર છે. So this idea of oneness, unity in diversity is central in the Hindu tradition. We are searching that one out of which came out everything, this whole of this creation. All this diversity we see in front of us must have some underpinning, some unity, and that unity we define as Brahman, as a cosmic principle that manifests, appears as this whole of this creation. So unity, the idea of this oneness is central. In fact, the quotation I gave from the Rig Veda, which again says the same thing, Ekam asat vipra bahuta vadanti, Ekam asat, one ultimate, same ultimate, viewed differently. So this idea is very central. It's not something artificially generated. But this idea of equating humanity with God, equating our essential need with God is only unique to Hinduism. In other religions, they'll shudder away. They'll shudder. They say, "આ ક્યાં ભાઈ આવી વાત કરે છે? અમે ઈશ્વર નથી. We don't feel like God." આ કેવું આવું બધું બોલે છે? You see, look, this is the story of almost all the Hindu youngsters in the Western world. Somehow, because of our tradition, we've been brought up, we are attracted to the idea of religion. It comes naturally in us. But નાનેથી બધું જોયું હોય ને એટલે આકર્ષણ થાય. We are attracted. But as we go to the adult stage, in the youth stage, our rational faculty begins to kick in and then causes problem for us. This is the story of almost all the Hindu youth in the Western world. If they are 10-year-old, they say, "Dharma mano છો?" બધા કહે, "હા, માનીએ, હનુમાન we love." When they are 16, you say, "તમારા રિલિજનમાં ભાગતા ફરે, અહીંયા નહીં આવે." એ કે, "આ શું વિચિત્ર વાત કરે, આ ધર્મ બરમ ના બધું weird stuff છે, વિચિત્ર છે." They walk away. When your rational faculty kicks in, lot of things that are dished out in the name of religion don't fit. And look, my story is exactly the same. I had the same issue. When I was 16, 15 perhaps, I was fighting my father left, right and center. This is all superstition, just a human ploy. તમે બધા આ બધા સરખી રીતે બિહેવ કરે એટલે આ બધું બનાવી કાઢ્યું તમે. છે જ નહીં આ બધું, હોય જ ક્યાંથી આવું બધું. Same boat. So my story is the same story as most Hindu youth, or most thinking youth of in the Western world. We love this. We are both brought up in a religion, so we kind of sing hymns and go, to the church and all that. But once we are 15, 16, we move away. In modern schools today in United Kingdom, because I survey, I ask questions when I go. I say, "How many really believe? Really believe?" You tick your name as Christian because it's your tradition. We understand that. Nam like the tick mairi. પણ સાચે તમે માનો છો આમાં? Do you truly believe all this stuff? They say no. Fact. Majority of 16 years I am coming across now in schools, so 16 to 18 age group especially, are now atheist or agnostic. નાસ્તિક અથવા અજ્ઞેયવાદી. Don't want to believe. This is the મારી ઠોકું તમે લોકોએ. This God business doesn't help us. They make fun of God, saying, "ઈશ્વર ક્યાં બેઠો ને શું કરે છે?"
I have a feeling that a lot of those people are, while they identify, they say that they are, religious or Christian or whatever, they just say that to fit in, and it just so happens that either their culture or their family is part of that. Even though they don't genuinely believe, they don't really think about it because it's not important. But it's like, "Yeah, I'm Christian. Do you believe in God?" Not really. It's probably something like that.
See, same journey. I took the same journey. I would have been an atheist, a crass atheist, pakko nastik hotu, if I had not come across the life and teachings of my mentor. If I had not come across his teachings, I would have been an atheist. I would today be challenging religions. Because I came across the teaching of this one person called Swami Vivekananda and his mentor and his master Ramakrishna, that stole my heart. Look, I'll tell the real story. When I was 17, I was like that, in a very different mood, studying physics at Imperial College. Suddenly I discovered the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. It was in Gujarati, by the way. It came, I had bought it, I just saw it, I started reading. The moment I started reading, the physics is the best of time. This is the real stuff. This is magic. This is the treasure. So from being a science-oriented person, I became a real devout Hindu, interested in the deeper aspects of Hinduism. So from the age of 17 to 21, 4 years, I did nothing. I was going to physics to do just for the sake of going to the university, but my mind was fully engaged in the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. day and night, 4 times a day. I used to meditate 4 times a day. At the age of 17 in London, find youngsters who do that. So that is my background. So I've got my feet on both sides of the camp. On one side studying science, on the other side in tremendous love with the deeper ideas of religion that I discovered in Swami Vivekananda. When Hinduism is defined as making sense of the world, trying to understand the laws that dictate this world, it is already signing up to a scientific enterprise, because science is precisely that, trying to understand the laws that dictate the world that we see around us. We say, oh yes, there's certain repetitions, some patterns take place in nature, and we can explain this through the scientific law. And as long as this law is, as long as we don't have any observation that breaks this law, we hang on to this law. Or if we discover a new thing which this law cannot answer, or the law goes, we put a new one. This is how science progresses. This is the scientific enterprise. It's a marvelous enterprise with integrity. You should never compromise the integrity of science. Now, why can I talk like this degree? I tell you why. Just as you are studying medicine or studied UCL, I studied physics at Imperial College. So my foundation, my background is very strongly science oriented, and I will never present anything that defies science, scientific discoveries or my own common sense. I will not accept, even if it's dished out in the name of Hinduism, I will not swallow it. I'll spit it out. And I would advise the same to every youth. If it doesn't agree, spit it out. It will create indigestion in you. Why do you take on things that don't make sense?
And on that note, I'll say that's the reason why I'm I would say atheist agnostic, is because and this is the thing that I point out, and this is the reason why I really strongly lean towards Hinduism, is because in Hinduism they don't say you must believe in this God, you must believe in this, you must believe in this. If you're saying you must believe, then you're like every other religion that I've encountered and didn't like at all. So and to say that, yeah, I mean, just follow the steps, whether you believe in God or not, get bliss, eternal bliss, or to self-realization. And if by following that path you end up believing, it's like, oh my gosh, I believe in this, then that's one thing. You're not forced into it. You say you have to. No, you just happen to stumble upon it. And that's the path that I'm taking, you could say, is that I'm listening to all this, and I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, I believe in that and this. No, it's I'm going to do what makes sense to me and push myself into whatever it is I'm doing as far as I can that I believe in. And then if for some odd reason I encounter something, let's say like I don't know how to describe it though, like if everything that seems to make common sense, and then there's something that just all of a sudden hits me that doesn't make any common sense, but yet I can keep on experiencing it, that doesn't make any common sense, then I'll believe in it because it's something that I experienced even though it doesn't make any sense. That's the best way I can explain. So if it's something supernatural, like for some odd reason I'm capable of doing something that doesn't make sense why I could do it, but I can, and I can recreate it, then I'd believe in that, even though typically without experiencing that I would not believe in, if that even makes any sense whatsoever.
So here's a lovely question saying, look, it's nice to hear about law of karma. It's in a way making you kind of regulate your life well, behave well, so you don't do weird stuff, because otherwise law of karma in the next life is going to come and catch you. So it's just a part of make-believe, some ploy that we use to behave well. It's a good question, see? Maybe there's nothing like reincarnation anyway. Does it frighten a Hindu? No, you must think and challenge and think deeper. Now yesterday, surprisingly, there was a lecture at SOAS, School of Oriental African Studies, by a Dutch cardiologist who has been studying. You should have come there yesterday. It was a fantastic 2-3 hour session. The Dutch cardiologist has done research on perhaps 300 patients who have cardiac arrest in the hospital. So they are doing research throughout the world, especially in their own hospitals, where people are kind of suffering from very terminal illness, and sometimes the EEG, the electrocardiogram that they have, that becomes flat line. There is no activity in the brain, and this is called, a person is considered to be brain dead. No heartbeat, no blood pumping around, no brain activity, and they say person is dead. There's nothing left, it's snuffed out. Whatever was living has been snuffed out. So they've been doing research on this, and the problem is this: some who go, they go to the mortuary, but some jump up and say we are not dead, and they get back, they again wake up, After coma, sometimes for a long period, they wake up. And the
Hold on, I'm going to rewind that because that didn't make any sense. Oh, sure, so CC, so I can see how far to go back.
and this is called a person is considered to be flat line. The electrocardiogram that they have, that becomes flat line. There is no activity in the brain, and this is called a person is considered to be brain dead. No heartbeat, no blood pumping around, no brain activity, and this.
The first two, heartbeat, no blood pumping. When you're brain dead, your heart can be pumping. And that's how people are, people in comas, they're everything. I wonder if that would be kept on a vent machine. Maybe, okay, maybe.
The person is dead. There's nothing left, it's snuffed out. Whatever was living has been snuffed out. So they've been doing research on this. And the problem is this, some who go, they go to the mortuary. But some jump up and say, we are not dead, and they get back, they again wake up. After coma, sometimes for a long period, they wake up. And the funny part is this is why it's a marvelous research. The funny part is that when they were declared dead, that individual was in the room, so I don't know where he was, nobody knows, that's why they're doing research on it. But the individual knows exactly what happened in the room. The surgeon said he's gone, and the wife came running crying, and the children gathered round. She or he would see everything happening, word for word, exactly what was said. The scalpel fell on the floor. They know, they see, how do they do it? They are brain dead. There is no activity, the eyes are closed, the ears cannot hear, nothing. They've been switched off completely. And yet, when they wake up, they talk about everything that happened when they were declared dead.
Interestingly enough, yes, I've heard of that. I just don't know how many or how often or the condition of the person. Like, I'm assuming maybe brain dead though. Maybe there is some brain activity, but not the ones of consciousness brain activity. So there's still electrical signals of hearing, seeing, like everything. The survival, your survival body is still recording everything in your brain, but the consciousness, awareness of the brain is not registering. That's maybe brain dead. Again, I don't know. I've seen a few things like this, and what it's saying, I've heard that too. Like they say I was outside the body, I was looking at myself in the bed with my family around me, and all of a sudden I got sucked back into the body, which is basically what it's explaining here. I've heard that. I haven't really watched very many videos of that. I've been on a nature spree at the moment, but yeah, I'm now kind of curious about that because I definitely want to hear people's experience and explanation, but this is kind of something that's very difficult to do, I suppose, considering that, you know, families are grieving, and you don't want to say, hey, do you mind if we record your dead father or mother or son, children? You know, if they come back to life, we want to question them. You know, it's kind of seems pretty terrible, but you know, it's very fascinating.
Now, this is scientific inquiry, and this is called NDE, near-death experience, being explored at many universities. And he was a specialist. And do you know what the poor guy was doing at the end of the session? He was quoting the Kathopanishad and talking about Yama and Nachiketa. And I said, oh my God. So he's been converted into Hinduism because of near-death experience. So this is an important scientific research being done regarding what happens to us when we die or at the time of death. And this is very fascinating research taking place. Fascinating is the right word. But rather than go into great detail, let me just tell you about reincarnation itself, because this is a hot potato. Now you see, this idea of reincarnation was in the Western world, with the Western philosophers, for thousands of years. It's not a new thing for the Europeans. Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Pythagoras, they all believed in reincarnation. There are major proponents who believed in reincarnation, the whole lot of them. And so this is what happened. When Christianity wanted, and this is a very hot, perhaps a very pointed comment to pass, when Christianity wanted to make sure that devotees are truly devout, means truly religious, they came up with this idea, there are only two lives, this one and the next one. So if you've been nice here, you go to heaven where God is waiting. Hello, my boy, I was waiting for you. Let's have barbecue. Because they eat meat. You say, let's have barbecue. And then if you've not been a good person, then when you die, you are the barbecue. They turn you over the fire.
Or if you don't, not necessarily whether you're a good person or not, it's whether you follow our rules and obey the church or not. That's what determines for you to be a good person. That has changed over time, which is a good thing. But yes, back in the day, they said that it doesn't matter if you're murdering people. That could be a good thing that you're doing because you're doing it for the church and God. Back in the day, medieval times especially, that was how they kept people. It's like, hey, yeah, go kill them, and then if you die, you go to heaven. And follow whatever we say, and 20% of your income.
See, the way by putting up this ploy of a hereafter where either you go to heaven or hell is so pointed that you can't take the gamble, you can't risk it. You say, suppose it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to be a very devout religious person. That is why they make sure the devotees stick to the religion and practice the religion to the letter.
It's like, hey, if it's true, you don't want to burn an eternity in hell. You want to go to heaven. If it's true, so you want to follow this, because if it's not true, then you know what? Either way, it both happens the same way. But if it's true, you'll suffer an eternity in torment.
They can't risk it. They can't sit on the fence even. They can't be agnostic. They say, oh, we must believe others, we go to hell.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm suggesting, this is a very pointed comment to pass to the Abrahamic religion, that you have produced this in order to make sure it's a kind of naive way, a ploy, to force your devotees to become properly devout and not kind of be half-hearted or fuzzy. Previous to this Abrahamic tradition, in the Western world, idea of reincarnation was very visible. We somehow felt there is a continuity in us which does not get snuffed out when we die. You may say, Dilipbhai, it's nice to a Hindu to keep talking reincarnation. You need some solid proof, you need some concrete evidence, some scientific evidence. Now the Hindus are very poor in actually looking for evidence. But a Western scientist has done tremendous research. You should go on Google and search him out. He's passed away, by the way, so he's reincarnated. But his name is Professor Ian Stevenson. He worked for 40 years at University of Virginia. And he used to, this is how he did research on reincarnation. He would suddenly find 3-year-old children who were able to recall a different life. So a 3-year-old boy would say, I'm not David, I'm John. I'm married and I've got 3 children. But you're a 3-year-old. Oh no, I'm married and I'm married in this church. He'll name the church, name the minister who got him married, name his wife, name his children, name the name of the street, number of the road, everything, color of the door. He start giving all this information. A little chap, 3-year-old boy or a girl, start talking of a different life. Now, this doesn't prove reincarnation, but this is what Stevenson did. This is pure scientific research. It's no speculation. In many cases, he studied 3,000 children, and there are atheist, agnostic, German, Hindu, Muslim, all religions and all races. Out of thousands of cases, a few cases he can check out because the child is talking of a life that was lived only 20 years ago, around the corner. So it's easy to check out because you can get birth certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate, you can get everything. You can get autopsy report as well of the person who passed away. So Stevenson did research like that. And here, the research showed perfect fit. That's the English, that's the scientific language. Fit, not statistical, fit. This cannot be by mere chance. So Stevenson had put this material to the scientific community saying, chaps, you sort it out. What is going on? How are these two lives connected? And the scientific community doesn't like reincarnation. They hate this idea something survives. They say, we'll find a way out. They say there must be genetic link between the two lives. Genes carry information. Billions of atoms correct, in different formulation, different permutations can collect a lot of information. That's how we get all this human form. They say genetic. So it's easy for Stevenson to do the checkup because you can check the previous person's family still around. So you can get the DNA of the new chap, new boy here, and compare the DNA. Nothing. No linkage. No DNA link at all. Thankfully, otherwise reincarnation dead. It would have died straight away. And I would go along with science. I said there was a mistake of the Hindus. So there is no other explanation. There was no fraud. There's nothing else. The little chap just talks, and there are thousands of them.
I would say that a little bit differently. I don't know why. Again, the way I see science and Hinduism are kind of similar because both are seeking the truth. Scientists does it a different way, where it's something that's repeatable and everyone can do it. If everyone does it, they get the same result. That's the thing about science. But the point is the fact that both seeks the truth. One does it in the objective or the transactional objective reality, and our truth is basically, in a sense, subjective as well, because how I experience life, how I experience meditation, or whatever it may be, is subjective to me, and it's not exactly something that everyone else will experience. But there's the absolute reality, which I think is, if you meditate and have a blank mind, I think everyone experienced that the same way. So that's kind of, oddly enough, maybe a mixture of those two becomes that. But that's a complete other theory, or other thing altogether. And there's the absolute reality, which there's absolute reality, objective reality, and subjective reality, how I see it now. There we go.
So this is like is sitting now as a scientific enterprise with 3,000 case studies saying you explain it, and there is no alternate explanation. So Stevenson says, I'm not a Hindu, I'm not here to prove reincarnation, I'm a scientist. I've done study on this through the, children recalling their past lives, and my suggestion to you is that the only theory that fits this fact, these are not speculative facts, is the theory of reincarnation. You answer it. This is where it sits. So reincarnation has a great deal going for it. And another interesting stuff, 30 to 40% of the youth that I interact with, or even in USA recently they did a survey, Newsweek magazine, believe in reincarnation. Something that's within us, all of us, that think we don't die. We don't suddenly end up in heaven or hell. We must have this continuity of journey. We have not finished our journey. We are still trying to resolve who are we, so we keep popping back. And this continuity of us trying to resolve our human condition carries on through the process of reincarnation. Sorry, a long answer, but it's such a crucial one to give. But we can talk about it for hours, and the research comes out with such interesting information, insight, it'll really amaze you. For example,
okay, before you say that example, my opinion on reincarnation, I do not believe it. Although, like he said, I've heard some stories where there's this child, who I think lives in the United States or something like that, but recalls a previous life in Egypt, I believe, and explained all these things in great detail. And then I think a few months later, they were excavating in a certain part in Egypt or some other country that's not in the Western world. It's either Middle East, Africa, or whatever else, just not in the Western world. And they end up finding this place, and followed as a matter of fact, I think the kid pointed out exactly where it was at. They dug up the place, found it, and they wrote down the notes, and they followed the notes and had everything she explained. Again, do your research, don't believe in me. But it was something along those lines where that she could have never known about that. So I still, just because that has been said, doesn't mean I believe in it. But it could be something else completely. It could be not reincarnation. Information could be floating in the air and it transports to a body. I don't know. But again, I'm still open, and I am very curious. When this is over with, I'm going to go look up that person and just see the research. It'll be fascinating. And I don't know. I do remember things when I was younger, but I don't remember anything of a past life at all. So, even if I did, I think my memory would be making up some stuff unless I can verify it. Unless I remember something vividly, I'm like, I've never been to that place. It's very strange. And then I go experience it, and then I go and I find out there's this thing there, and I'll be like, that should be a coincidence. I won't say that's reincarnation. It could just be my mind creating this memory from other memories in movies and stuff, but it takes a lot of proof. But yeah,
it gives an interesting insight on why there are people who are gay. And this is a serious issue in modern society, because 5 to 10%, maybe bigger population is gay now, and you can't vilify them and say, you're horrible, unnatural. This is very natural. The answer comes from reincarnation, interestingly. They are saying that if a male is born again and again as a male, because you're reincarnating, but male is a male, and of course, over many lives, he has got attraction toward the female. Whenever he sees a beautiful woman, he whistles and follows her, and this very positive experience. So he carries on, he reinforces the experience. But suppose, because the individual doesn't have a gender, suppose that male is born in a female body, trouble. Because the mindset is male, but in a female body. So that person is attracted to females. It gives a natural. I said this on ITV program. And I had lots of very lovely emails from a lot of gay people saying thank you.
I'll challenge that idea. Okay, so I'll challenge that idea real quick. From what I understand, what I heard from science, I think everyone in a sense is born female. Everyone's born female. And then towards the end of the development of the human body, the male body, the X chromosome, the human body, the X and the Y chromosome, then makes a switch, comes on. But other than that, until that point, everybody is female, at least from the science perspective. They said that. I didn't want to think that way. I want to think there's just a blank copy that says these are all the things that everything needs, and then when you flip the switch, then you become male or female. And then obviously our attractions and everything, in my opinion, we're chemicals. We're just all chemicals. You pump enough chemicals into something, we'll start feeling hungry when we're not. We may be attracted to some things or not. I think this can all be explained in terms of just our chemicals in our body and how we're attracted to things. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, but that's just my belief and how I understand it thus far. Could it be that? Maybe. But so far I find a little bit more, in my personal opinion, more evidence in terms of the fact that that whenever we're kind of born with this body, and then X or Y chromosomes makes a switch and then starts producing testosterone or estrogen or whatever, and then genes mutate, of course, and some genes may have something to do with attraction, and they mutate a different way as opposed to another way, and that's the reason why we like this things and that things. I mean, video over with me talking now. You don't all of a sudden you grow up, it's like, oh man, I like big booty biatch. Because throughout the entire history of your life, your reincarnation state, you always wanted big booty bees. No, I think it's just, I wonder if, again, it's nature and nurture. Actually, I got nature and nurture wrong in the last video, but nature and nurture. Nature in terms of how your chemicals are and what you find, what has been successful in terms of breeding, those kind of gets into you, and then nurture based on how your parents and environment kind of point you in the direction to what is beautiful and whatnot. I think it's both cases. There's people out there who like big or skinny people, and that's nature, by nature, that you're attracted to those people, and then by nurture, by your culture or whatever it may be, that you may swing a little bit more one way or another. It may divert what you like a little bit. A great example for me would be, I remember this one movie TV show of, it was a singer, I can't remember her name, but she went to Africa, and she went to go watch this marriage of this two African people, and the woman would go into a fattening hut where they'd constantly feed her very fatty milk to get her very, very big. And I forgot what her name is, but she asked the dudes, like, I think she said something along the lines, what's a compliment? It says calling her a cow is a compliment, because if she's fat, it means that she's like rich or something. I don't remember. I remember seeing just a very small video of that, but I guess they find fat people attractive, like quite fat. And so that, to me, that witnessing that shows that it's a lot to do with culture, and perhaps nurture, culture, and nature, which is the success, because of them being fat. The next generation was successfully healthy and successfully has been raised. So this idea, genetically speaking, has been passed down through generations. It's kind of like how we have an attractiveness for healthy and fit people to a degree, because they were able to successfully do things in life to survive and provide, that this gene of healthy or whatnot has been passed down all along, and that's what we seek in partners. Whereas in this tribe of people, it's the fattening hut. I don't know how else to explain it. I want to watch it again, because that's very fascinating how they find fat women to be very attractive, and I'm kind of curious as to why. And I can't remember her name still, but she was kind of the singer was not fat at all. She wasn't very skinny at all either. She was a very healthy weight, but they consider her unattractive because she's so skinny. And I think for most, the rest of the other world would find her, you know, relatively attractive, not bad. But yeah, anyways, talked a lot there. That's the end of this video. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.